Let's make your business cook. Independent chefs who want to build and scale their personal and private chef business and call their own shots? Subscribe here for tips, hacks, and tactics to get clients, money, and freedom. So before we begin, like and subscribe below. And I want to save you 3 days and $1,000, okay? The 3 days comes from the 3 days I spent on your behalf in Miami last week at the CaterSource Conference and the special event conference at the Miami Convention Center. And the $1,000 is what it would have cost you to buy a ticket to go there yourself. So I'd like to show you what it is that I learned during that week just by showing you some different slides that I have. And I'm going to go to a screen share. I'm presuming that will work, even though I'm live. Cool. Okay. Hopefully you're looking at the different screens. I attended a session taught by an executive from Disney, and he was talking about the fact that when you solve a problem, if you've got a cranky customer, they're really never complaining about the actual issue of, I had to throw away this trash and all the trash cans were full, or, I had to wait 5 hours in line. What they're really complaining about is something different. So he talked about listening to the demand, separating yourself from the drama, and then finding out what the real desire is, and then talking about that desire. And it could be, hey, I don't want to be inconvenienced when I'm having a vacation. And then you know how to answer to that issue. Or, hey, my family time is really important. I was upset I had to wait in line this long. And so you know that you've got to address the issue of my family time. So that was one of the topics. And I thought it was helpful that when we get in the heat of things, we're often so caught up in the demand and the drama that we forget to think about the desire that the person has. And I know that I've had that issue with my husband. When we get into an argument, the demand and the drama is like, I want to win, I want to be right. And I forget that our greatest desire is to communicate well and to be a good partnership. So that was helpful for me. I'm going to skip through some of these. Let's see. Oh, this is my favorite quote that I got from his Disney section. The best way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. And there's so many chefs that talk about wanting their own business and they don't get started. That's really what you need to do. And this was an area that was all flooded in Florida, and they needed to just backfill with all this dirt. And they were like, this is impossible, but they got a steal on the land. And now you can see what they've developed because they got started. These are some tools. They talked about, I went to a session that talked about tools, and I'll just go forward. They talked about field kitchen setup, and they talked about crash kits. And I was just so pleased to know that, in catering, they've got this term for it that we use differently as a private chef, because as a private chef or a personal chef, you're going into somebody's home every time, and the setup is different for you every time. And that's really similar to a caterer who's going into the field and has to have a different setup every time. But the point that they made is no matter where you're going out into the field, your kitchen setup should be the same. So even though you're going into a kitchen as a private chef, if your mise en place is on the left and your plating's on the right, then that's the way it should try and be in every home that you go into. So I thought that was a really helpful tip. And then the crash kits, of course, we've been talking about that for a long time. When I teach the Rapid Business Launch 30-day program, we talk about what it is that you need to have with you on site so that you can execute seamlessly every time, regardless of what a client has in their home. And I love that they call it a crash kit. We call it, and you've just probably received some emails about it, your jump list, and then your essential kit. I attended, this guy was awesome. And I want you to think about this, chef. So this is my friend Al, and we met through a mutual friend and another co-speaker at the event. And Al was wearing this shirt. Here's the front, here's the back. There's my friend Alan Berg. And this guy, Al, was wearing this shirt throughout the event. Lots of people there. And this was his QR code. So you could go right to the landing page on his website. I suggest if you don't have a website and you don't know how to build landing pages and sequences and things like that, and by the way, snap a picture of this now, right? Off of watching this and grab it, because he teaches you how to use your local advertising and get free leads for your business. And so I recommend that you check out Al. And what a great idea to go around conferences wearing a shirt that is your call to action. I didn't feel like his call to action was clear enough. Get free catering leads could have been, take a picture of this now and I'll show you how to, get free catering leads. And maybe a date on it so that like available until the end of the conference. But even if you don't do something as clever as this, I suggest that when you're going to the grocery store, shopping for your family, that you wear a chef's jacket. If you're wearing a chef's jacket when you're out and about in the community, and even a chef jacket that says, ask me how I can give you and your family your time back, then you will get free leads in that way. And what a great way for him to exemplify that. And I love it too, Marie. It is a totally fun idea. Thanks for commenting. And let's see, they were talking about different calls to action depending on whether or not your customers are hot and ready to buy, whether they're warm and still kind of checking you out, or whether they're cold and they're still learning about you. And so that's a really good lesson for chefs as you're reaching out to people. You don't offer a wedding ring to a stranger. You do offer hey, do you want to go out to lunch, for somebody who you want to go out on a date with and you've been getting to know. So just the idea that to qualify your traffic, it's good to know the difference between hot, warm, and cold, because there are different things to offer them. And any one of these I can teach you a class about. If you're interested, put comments below, and I can share with you how we use these skills in our business here in Lake Tahoe at Hey Chef, which we've been running since 1997. And in July, we had two $35,000 weeks this last month. And so if you'd like to know how we're using this and putting this into action, please let me know. Let's see. Oh, this is great. I went to a website building, just wanted to see what they were offering, what they saw different in trends. And what I liked was their best practices. And they said that these are the only pages, if you're building a website, and if you are, I want you to reach out to me, because there's a time and a place to build a website. But if your head is set on and your heart is set on spending the time and money and the energy and the learning curve to build a website, I thought this was really great, that these were the simple navigation tabs that you need to have. And we have a workshop, if you're interested, at Make Your Business Cook, so that chefs can build their own website in a day, and we build out these sections. So I just thought that was a good session that I went to. It was a session every hour. This is my friend Alan Berg. He's a speaker internationally, has about 13 books. I didn't mean to put up pictures of me, but I work a lot from this book, which I love. It's called Shut Up and Sell More by my friend Alan Berg. And he's an expert in the wedding industry and for events and for caterers. And so we got to spend some time together. That was nice. Then I went to an opening party. These are kind of funny pictures. I don't know if you're into the big kind of soirees, with the cachet and all the entertainment, great. I'm not so sure. I live in the mountains. I like to go on a hike. I like to go on a paddle. So these parties are really interesting. You've got hundreds of people and all of this passive entertainment, acrobatics, climbing in, jungle gym bars and like Cirque du Soleil kind of stuff. Maybe not my style, very Miami. But this guy was shaking hands. He was a rose head. And then through the wall, there were hands coming out and stuff. And then there was these entertainment pieces. I think there's a short movie here. Hang on. Yeah, there's a short movie. So it was a really loud party, and these live figures were moving throughout the whole time. I don't know if she's moving. Let's see. Yeah, she is. Okay, enough of that. It was a fun party. Let's see. Oh, this is talking. I went. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. I met a guy there, and I'm gonna establish, more of a relationship with him. Find out more about what he does. I picked up his book, The Restaurant Prosperity Formula: What Successful Restaurateurs Do. And I went to a session where he talked about chefs, and not necessarily in a kind way. He made fun of chefs in all the ways that you can have stereotypes about chefs. But he turned it on its ear and he said, I'm not bashing chefs. Any chef who wears their pride in how they can suffer works for a terrible boss. I was blown away. And then he talked very directly about how the restaurant owners are doing a disservice to chefs by not having the systems in place that allow chefs to be backed up by team members, know exactly what needs to be done, know their costing, and have systems in place so that things can run more smoothly and really be a fine oiled machine. He's a consultant, you would guess. David Scott Peters, who wrote this book. I recorded his entire session so I could listen to it again, because he was not really bashing chefs, but he was telling business owners, restaurant owners, the responsibility they had for taking care of their chefs. And he was saying that you don't hire any chef that has an impossible ego and who wants 100% control of the kitchen, or who ignores numbers, or who won't do recipe costing, or who, I'm just reading on my screen share over here, who won't take weekly inventories and won't order on budget and using PARs, who won't cut labor hours because they don't understand how to create the systems that allow you to do so, and who walk off with staff and recipes. He just said, the ego of the chefs out there and them wanting creative control, there's absolutely no room in it. He said, if you want creative control, if you have your recipes and you want to do what you want to do, then you should be running your own restaurant. So he was very direct with chefs, very practical, but the responsibility he laid upon a restaurant owner. And I thought that was really powerful. And he just said, I don't need in my restaurant, and he's got chains of restaurants. He said, I don't need a creative chef. I need a chef who knows how to help me run a business, right? So I understand that as a chef, you're an artist and you want to be creative, but I'm here, like I know David is when he was talking in this event, about making sure that you're profitable. Chef, you can be creative, but you got to know your numbers and you got to be profitable. So here, profitability starts here. I just saved you $1,000 by not attending this conference. Stay to the end. Watch this information, because your creativity, I know, is important. It's great to have an expression and an outlet for who it is that you are, but I'm here to help you with all the shit that you've brushed aside because it wasn't fun, so that you can actually make a profit doing what it is that you're doing, chef. And this was a really powerful session that I attended. Let's see. Oh, he talked about who not to hire, and he was so funny. He said, don't hire anybody with a work history of 5 jobs in the last 3 years. He said, and the red flag that you'll see on a resume is that they'll put down, oh, I was doing consulting for that restaurant. It's so true. He said, you weren't consulting, you were fired, and you don't want to tell people because you just want to cook and you don't want to help somebody actually run their business. So these were the red flags that he talked about chefs. And he said, a chef that demands control, that can't control costs and labor and keep a team growing without them working, 80 hours a week, you're not worth it. It was shocking, shocking. Okay, I'm going to keep going. You can ask me more about it if you want. But he said, look for this. So this was him speaking. So I didn't get the right lighting. He said, look for this. When you're hiring the right person, that person is thankful for the opportunity. They show a willingness to learn. They show a willingness to follow systems, and they have the right culture fit. And he had a job summary for a chef. You can come back and watch this, push pause if you want. But he said every job description should have this definition of a chef. Everyone else is a cook. A chef is a chief. That means they're a manager. And so he defined what a chef is really in control of. I took more slides from him. He gave performance standards as well. I took more slides, pictures from him than from anybody else. I took notes from other conferences. They were 1 hour conferences with a half-hour break from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that gave me 2 or 3 in the morning and 2 or 3 in the afternoon, 6 times 3 days, 18 different sessions that I had to pick from. And each hour time block, there were 6 or 8 topics that I could go to. And it was hard to pick which ones to bring back good information for you. So here's some performance standards. You know, if you don't enjoy the job that you have in the restaurant because you're suffering because they're a poor manager, or you don't have the creative control that you want, and you're willing to learn how to manage your own business, then we should be talking because you get to be creative when it's your place. And so he talked about the pros and cons of hiring a seasoned chef as opposed to new ones, what their role is, the importance of training them and setting standards and ensuring that your expectations are met. Basically, he was telling restaurant owners not to let the kitchen run the restaurant, because we're in the business of pennies, not dollars. And you can lose your fortune, you can lose your ass, you can lose your business pennies at a time. And if you're one of the people working for a boss that isn't managing this, then, have fun while you're doing it, but don't suffer along the way. It's their fault. They're not taking control of their restaurant. But this restaurant consultant was talking about, hey, you're the owner, you need to be managing this. And people shouldn't be building the mystique of what a badass they are because they suffer under your rule. It should be a tight ship. Let's see. Oh, so that's David, the speaker. There were some demos. It's the trade room floor. Some pictures I took by accident. This was a woman who talked about the 6 actions that you should take every day when you're in your office building your business as a private chef or personal chef. And I'd love to share with you more about that and my take on it. I think I don't have 6, I think I have 8 activities on my list from my staff members. But if you're interested, put some comments below and I'm happy to provide that to you. These were the 6 daily activities, I think was the, here they are, the daily 6. The daily 6 activities that you conduct each day in your business to keep it growing and building it. So I'm just going to go through these quickly. I know that you've got this recording. You can push pause as you go. So this was the best containers that I found. Also, the guy let me stack containers on his head. Sometimes people will do anything for a sale. Okay, so this guy what I'm looking for is the best disposable containers that make a good display. Because what I see is that your food will be valued on the par of other takeout food, think Panera and Chipotle, if it's put in foil, if it looks like it's coming out of a restaurant, and the price per plate that you're putting out, you can't make a profit on if you're having to compare with restaurants. So I was looking for, how can we set up buffets? How can, in somebody's home, how can we do service? How can we have to-go items that are a little bit more upscale, that are environmentally, responsible? They haven't come up with a lid yet, that's good. I think it should just be a lid. Of course, the cardboard is really great. The boxes that have the tops that slide. But these are made of poplar wood, I think. And you can buy them in small quantities from front of house, small quantities, and they're fully compostable, disposable, everything else. And they had the right sizes that if you were going to put up, a buffet on, in a kitchen to serve people, they look nicer than bringing in foil disposable, chafer stands, or you carting like we do in our strong milk crates. All of these bistro platters and bowls that are heavy, heavy. I don't know if they're China porcelain clay. They're heavy and they break and they're expensive. So I think this is a good. I see a lot of chefs on this page that are putting stuff up in foil dishes. And these, to answer your question, because I know it's coming, these you can put in the oven up to 350 for an hour, I think. I'd have to look at some notes. But this line you'd want to look at, it's poplar wood. The only thing is if you had a lot of fluid, if you didn't toss a salad well and you had a soup at the bottom of your bowl, you wouldn't be able to keep a buffet line with a salad like that for long. They don't retain water very well. But they're the size containers that you can make casseroles, and you could put them in the oven for heating and reserving, and then microwave safe too. So that's my number one find for you. It's from front of house and small purchase quantities. You're not going to buy 1,000 of these and then have them sitting, under your bed or in your garage, right? In your kitchen. So that's my number one find for you. Let's see if it's a sport. I met with the American culinary, the ACF, sorry. I met with ACF. I'm going to follow up with them. They wanted some information about the webinars and the teaching that I do so that we could reach out and expand the educational offerings that ACF has. And so this is for me. Here's a trick that you can take away from this. When I meet people, I ask if I can take selfies, if we can take pictures, because then I can put a face to the name. When I'm sending out emails, I don't get to see people a lot. We don't always jump on Zoom, and I want to be familiar with who people are. So I took pictures with people all along the way so that I could remember, whose business card is this. And so I'm excited to be a part of ACF. And the Reno chapter. This is a photographer. He puts out a couple different podcasts, especially for people who are passionate about live events and about photography. And he offered me a spot on his podcast where we could talk about photography with chefs, etc. So I'm going to follow up with him. Of course, I want to take pictures, not just so I can remember a face, but so that I can promote and say, oh yeah, I'm going to be on this podcast on this date, and this is who I'm going to talk to. So there's so many reasons why you want to get not just, in back of the kitchen and behind the camera, but in front of the camera. It's not just about pictures about your food, chef. It's about who you're relating with, what problems you're solving, who you are being. We just put a post up on Facebook that said, if you were a verb, how would you happen to people? And so I think for me it would be excitement, right? Enthusiasm is how I would happen to people. So maybe that comes through in my pictures. I'll let you know. So then I just often take pictures of some badges and things. Okay. I'm going to end it here on this slide because this is so powerful for you. Are you ready? Here's the deal. I went to this one event called Let Your Competition Be Cheaper. Great title, Let Your Competition Be Cheaper. I thought that was fantastic. And so I went, and she was saying that the number one reason that there were 4 reasons, this was her whole speech, on why you want your competition to be cheaper, is that there's always going to be somebody else who's cheaper, and it'll be a race to the bottom for you and for other chefs. And really that cheapens the entire industry. When you drop your prices to undercut somebody else, then they drop their prices. And then pretty soon you're having to do things on a scale and a quality level that fast food restaurants do and fast convenience. Again, Panera and Chipotle, you can't compete as an individual unless you've got that kind of volume, which is millions, right, of meals a day. We can't compete as individuals in business on volume. So it has to be on quality. So he said, there's always going to be somebody cheaper than you. So you don't need to lower your prices. There will always be other people cheaper than you. Second, there will always be people who are willing to pay more. Always. I mean, take a look in so many different places. You'll see people who have a plane that you don't have, who have a boat that you don't have, who have a home that you don't have. Just because we think it's expensive doesn't mean that the clients we serve will think it's expensive. If you position yourself appropriately so there's value in what it is that you do, people are willing to pay for that, right? I mean, I get a massage now and again, about once a month. And there are massage therapists that charge $35 an hour and massage therapists who charge $90 an hour. And I'll go to the one who does a better job, who has more convenient scheduling, who I have a nice connection with. It's a relationship, right? And I'm willing to pay more for that. There will always be people, chef, who are willing to pay more for your services, even if you're making chicken, right? And we've talked about this again and again. Where's my chicken? Let me grab my chicken. We talked about the fact that you can get a Chinese chicken salad at Panera, you can get chicken at Chipotle, and people can hire you to buy chicken. And they can get chicken as well at Wolfgang Puck's restaurant and at Nobu. So chicken has a lot of different prices depending on what it is that you're selling and why. And it has to do with the solution that you are presenting for the client and the niche that you're serving. So there will always be somebody willing to pay more. Let me see if I can interpret this. Let your competition be cheaper. Because you need to make your positioning in the marketplace quality over quantity. You have to, as a chef. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day for you to cook. And so your experience that you're providing people has to do with the quality experience they have when they're working with you, your menus, and what it is that you're solving for your client. That has to be quality over quantity. But the last thing, and I'm going to leave you with this, had to do with loyalty. And I love the point that she made. She said, let your competition be cheaper because they will have customers who are not loyal to them. And the idea is that if I keep my prices, stand on my worth, present and deliver exceptional quality every time, people will come back to me. And she made the point, and I've seen it happen here in my town where I live in Truckee. People buy these Groupons and they show there's a hotel next to Squaw Valley where the Olympics were held. And they offered this Groupon. And we had some friends who said, we're in town, come visit us. We're staying at the local hotel. And so we did. And we came in, and in one hotel room was the couple and their 3 daughters and a dog and 2 coolers of food. The idea, of course, was that the hotel said, oh, if we get people coming into our hotel, then we'll make more money on them buying sunscreen and hats and sunglasses and shopping in the little shopping mall and dining at the restaurants and ordering poolside. And this family that were friends of ours, they were doing nothing of the kind. People that want a deal every time. And if you offer cut prices for your services now, you will not have a loyal customer, because the next time they find another deal that's the same price or cheaper, because you're no longer offering your deal, they're going to jump ship and go to another chef. Incredible. If you'd like to know more about what I learned, this is maybe half the slides, and then I took notes, and I've got connections and people I'm following up with, follow-up being one of the main things. And then tune in. I think maybe next week I'll do another live and share with you more. In the comments below, tell me which of these pieces you want more information about. These are just rough overviews, but I can show you how I use each of these things in our business. So in terms of loyalty and coupons, I can show you what we do for specials for our clients that does not make our prices cheaper, that adds value. And I can give you specific examples. Happy to do that, Chef. Happy that you tuned in. I'm glad that you're watching. Please put some comments in below. Tell me where you cook, how long you've been cooking, who you cook for, and what problem you solve. And I'm glad that I could save you now. I'm about halfway through these slides. 3 days of attending the conference, a day of travel on each end, that's 5 days, couple $1,000s in hotel bills, and $1,000 ticket to the CaterSource Conference. Totally worth it, but really worth it if you're getting just the gems of that. And I'm happy to provide that to you, Chef. So glad that you could tune in today and be a part of this group and follow and get more tips and hints and hacks from me about how to make your business cook. I'm here so that you can call your own shots, do what you love, and get paid what you're worth, Chef. And above all else, please work safely. Okay, bye, Chef.